yeah, welcome to another video, and welcome to yeah, you've seen from the title, one and a bit more about how the car is to live with as a daily driver, basically. So we've had this car for about a week, and we've done actually kind of considerably over 1,000 miles in this car. So I'd like to think that we've got a really good idea of, you know, what it can do in everyday conditions, really. We've gone through all the different modes, all the capabilities of the car in those individual modes, and we've also, like I say, driven it a really good distance and lived with it day to day, from, you know, lugging loads out of the boot to kind of checking out, can it be comfortable round town, and I suppose how frugal and decent it can be on fuel consumption as well. So obviously I'm going to go through the modes individually to you really quickly. If you haven't seen our full review video, or recent refresh review video, click in the top right hand corner now, and you'll be able to see that and view that and see what we've kind of been doing with the car on that full review. But yeah, to live within an everyday situation, comfort obviously changes a number of things. It changes the sharpness of you know, what's done to ignition timing and things, also through the gear changes. So obviously the heel and toe, or the rev matching, should I say, feature is turned off. It also then puts start-stop mode in as well, so it'll do the, you know, the start-stop kind of features. So it definitely is going to lower the or make the fuel consumption better, and with that you can feel the car get a lot more tamer and a lot more relaxed and calm. So yeah, the engine sharpness is changed in comfort mode. You can really tell if you're in sport or you're in R mode. If you knock it down to comfort, you can tell that the throttle response is definitely down and lowered, and it is basically because the engine management essentially is being put into a kind of lower boost mode, a lower ignition time, in a safer kind of, or calmer mode, should I say. And it does show in, yeah, like I say, throttle response. The steering goes a lot lighter, but it's still got a nice weight to it, so even in comfort mode it still gives a really reasonable feedback, and it's not like super light and horrible, but some people like super light, but it is it's far more lighter than in sport and R mode. But obviously you're going to get the best fuel consumption on comfort mode, and you're going to get the best comfortable ride, because also the dampeners are changed to a much more softer dampening setting. So yeah, the dampening of the lumps and bumps are ironed out really nicely. So when you're on a motorway, you can, weirdly, it's like anything, when it's softer it will bounce around a bit more, and the frequency of the bouncing is done in a different way, if that makes sense. So it continues to bounce a bit more before it settles, but when it's in a more sporty mode, it will kind of it feels a lot stiffer, and it resets almost. It resets the suspension, that's probably the best way I can describe it, quicker, which is obviously akin and useful for, you know, driving situations like being out on track. On the, you know, undulating roads and round, you know, cobbled streets and round kind of town, comfort is, you know, quite nice to put it in. It does make the ride really smooth. On the motorway, lovely and smooth as well. And it calms obviously the sound down, the note that goes out of the exhaust. Even though it is quite quiet out of the factory, it definitely is relatively quiet, or slightly more quieter. You can hear it more outside of the car actually, on the exhaust note. So, you know, the valves in the exhaust are changed on the comfort mode, so it's quieter, as you'd expect. So if you do want kind of I say neighbour friendly mode, comfort is the one way to go. That being said, 100%, even in sports mode or race mode, it's still actually reasonably quiet for your neighbours. It's not intrusive or loud or drony, which a lot of people actually probably will like. And I think for a car that can be used in a daily situation, it works really well in that respect. So going on to sports mode, obviously the ferocity of the gearbox is increased a little bit, engine response is increased, power is increased, so ignition timing, boost levels are going to be changed in the internal parameters of the ECU when you go into sports mode. And also the ride, or the I'm going to put it in sports mode now. You can hear the note. You might not be able to pick that up so much, but I can hear the note of the exhaust change straight away. It goes a little bit more aggressive looking on the inside dials as well. But you can customize the dials to however you want. You can get boost levels, lap timers, G meters, and all kinds. So it's got a lot of a proliferate of kind of different modes, which are relatively easy to get into once you kind of learn the car after a few days, for sure. And again, yeah, on sports mode, the steering firms up that a little bit more, and you can feel it instantaneously. And also the engine kind of note changes from the exhaust. The remote on the opening on the exhaust will be a little bit more aggressive again, so it'll be a little bit louder. And yeah, the firmness of the suspension is also increased as well. Basically, I think Honda have given you all the modes you need. They haven't done anything that's individual and that you can kind of tune to what you want. But in my opinion, a lot of those are really, really gimmicky. Yes, I have been on other cars and played around with the individual modes to what I want. But normally, comfort is, you know, for relaxing and going and being a bit more chilled and getting the miles per gallon. Sport is the great in-between mode, and then when you're feeling racy on the track or in a fast kind of A to B road attack, you put it in race mode. And I'm going to do that now. When you put it in race mode, the note doesn't change too much different unless you kind of give it a rev, and you can hear and change those different, hear those different notes change. And again, the remote opening a little bit more aggressive on the exhaust. But yeah, you definitely can feel the suspensions firm up even further still, and the steering feedback gets a lot more weighty and a lot more heavy. But I love that, and that's exactly how a race car or a racy car should feel through the fingertips. So in each individual mode, in my opinion, Honda have absolutely got it nailed on. And as you'd expect, again, the engine management is changed, again the mode is changed, so more aggressive ignition timing, more higher boost, and obviously through those different modes you're going to have different powers essentially. These out of the factory have been dynoed from various different sources, and I've seen them reach figures of anything from 320 to 330 completely factory standard. So Honda have left a lot in the kind of bag there, and yeah, not kind of been over generous with you know, kind of actually what the horsepower is made or what the car is made on the dyno. But 316 is the figure on paper from Honda. Real figures, and especially from, you know, what I call my butt dyno, and genuine real dynos from what I'm hearing is 320 to 330 horsepower. So useful amount of horsepower out of the factory. Great torque figures as well. Yeah, links in the bio to all the tech spec, also where you can get them. Okay, so let's talk about a few more other things. If you are considering one of these as an everyday car, you are going to 100% be asking, what is the fuel consumption like? Now, most or some people that will buy these cars won't care about fuel consumption, but if you're buying it as one of those kind of cars that really needs to fill the void, but needs to still potentially be a daily, which again, this is what the title of this video is all about. I'm letting you know how that can achieve or be that daily car. Miles per gallon. Now, this is a super low mileage, barely running car. This is, I think, arrived at our place with just over 1,000 miles on the clock. We've now done a good deal over 2,000, about 2,600. So I know from owning a few new cars that when they're tight, they actually will do a certain miles per gallon figure. And what I've found, normally with most cars I've ever owned that have been new, is when they've gone from 10,000 to 20,000 kind of miles in, they tend to loosen up a little bit, and actually they get more efficient. All the friction surfaces have been mated together, and you start to get better fuel consumption. So at absolutely combined cycle, real combined cycle of what we've had in the car. And when I mean combined cycle, I mean driving gently and driving hard, very hard. This car has been doing 32.6 to 32.8 miles per gallon all day long, tripped. Not tripped and kind of checked for 10, 20, 30 miles, trying to achieve some magical figure, because we could easily do that. And I honestly would say that if you put this in comfort and you drove this car in pure chill mode, you could 100%, and I've seen it, get about 40 miles per gallon. I kid you not. This car is so decently fuel efficient for the power and torque it kicks out. So for me, it absolutely ticks all the boxes that you'd want it to for a car of this type and for a car that you'd want as a daily. Now, if this car is running, I suspect you will see, and I've actually heard it as well from more and more people, you can see as good as mile per gallon figures as good as between 34 and 35 miles per gallon. Genuinely, legitly combined cycle. So hard driven and then soft driven, bit of both cycled. 34 to 35 miles per gallon, and 100% I can believe it. Like I say, if you drive this careful and gently and you went 200 miles and you drove it long distance, which it would be a pleasure to be driven a long distance as well because it's comfortable, it would do those kind of miles per gallon. It would do probably circa 40 miles per gallon. I don't think there's another hot hatch, or there's certainly not many, that will do everything this car can and cover a Nürburgring, you know, a lap of a Nürburgring or a lap of an amazing UK circuit in a ridiculously quick time and do those kind of mile per gallon figures. So for me, it absolutely ticks all the boxes for a daily driver and what a daily driver would need to do. So absolutely superb. It's more comfortable than my daily Volvo. It's way more comfortable than our RST. And the other thing, touching on miles per gallon, it's doing about the same miles per gallon as my little 1100 kilogram Fiesta ST will do. And that is an economical car with performance. And this car, you've got to remember, weighs about 250 kilograms heavier than that car. It weighs about 1360 kg, which is light in today's standards of hot hatch, because most of them are kind of, you know, 1450 to 1500 kilogram mark. So to have a car and to see Honda being able to achieve a figure of 1360 kg, absolutely magical. So they've done a really good job of weight savings and keeping the weight down on this car, and it shows for how agile it is around track and on road. Obviously, we're not talking about so much about driver dynamics, which seems really odd for us, not talking about that, being an FK8 and being a record front wheel drive producing hot hatch. We're talking more about how the car is to live with daily. Now, like I say, there is an abundance of features, especially on the GT model. It is just absolutely phenomenal, and it has so many different driver aids on it. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, aside from what I've already said, yeah, like I say, it's got so many different driver aids. You can turn them off, and they can potentially be annoying on this GT model. It's got so many driver aids, much like probably an executive car, and there will be a few hot hatch lovers that maybe buy the car just for being a pure driver's car, or a hot hatch driver's car, that may get annoyed with those things, but they can be turned off. There's a number of different things through the menus where you can turn them off. I must admit, if I had the car for a little bit longer, or it was my own, I'd probably go into the settings and play around with those and maybe take them off, probably depending on the situation. But yeah, they can be useful. Obviously, at the end of the day, they're there for safety reasons. So yeah, talking about comfort and talking about a few other things, I've had this car out in the wet and kind of slick conditions, or very wet conditions, as well as dry, and in every single situation this car is absolutely amazing. Comes with a really good set of tyres on it, Continental Sports Contact 6s, and they're really good all-round tyres. at pretty much everything. You name it, from slick to wet conditions to dry conditions. We've had them in every condition, in every different mode, and they seem to do a really good job and keep you really safe. So ticks all the boxes there as well, and that is probably something that you will want to think about, because at the end of the day, if you get caught out in nasty weather and you're in something quite sporty, sometimes it can be pretty scary. But in this car, rest assured, absolutely not. Talking about features, I'm going to talk about some of the other features in the car as well. It has got loads of additional things, like on the GT model, again, a wireless charging, really simple place and cubby hold, which fields and sits your kind of mobile phone. As long as obviously it's got wireless charging capabilities, it sits on there and it charges with you know, absolute ease, and it doesn't fly around anywhere as well. Even if you're actually hacking it around, it keeps it really well positioned as well, so it's good. As well as that, the car's got a USB connectivity port. It's actually even got a hidden HDMI cable. I haven't looked into that, but I presume that means that you can put your laptop in and you can have it kind of show on the screen down here, which is amazing. So you can probably then put your, you know, whatever you want in there, whether you're streaming Netflix if you're on, you know, you're sitting down, or whatnot. But yeah, it's got a HDMI port in there, as well as a USB port, as well as a normal standard socket as well, a standard cigarette lighter socket as well. So there's loads of different ports for you to kind of use. The USB port is a 1 amp an hour charging port, so really good. And like I say, it's got all those other bits on it as well. One of the other things I didn't mention was that it's got kind of like a hill assist brake hold as well. These do have an electronic e-brake or handbrake, as other people know it. I sound American when I say that. So yeah, obviously aside from that, obviously it's got the normal things, like you say, switchable traction control that you can leave on, you can turn almost off, and you can turn off. Other than that, one of the other features that the GT model has got obviously front-facing sensors, so you can it can kind of tell where you are when you're kind of parking the car, so you're not going to smash into a wall or something. But it's got a camera for the rear, so rear parking assist essentially, or a rear reversing camera, which is really useful and very handy. That being said, one of the things I did say on my other video is you would not believe how good the visibility is on this car, and that's one of the things I will talk to you a bit more about. Yeah, given its proportions and the spoiler, and you look externally at this car, you would think that the visibility is going to be really poor, but it's actually absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's another thing, another plus point that you'd want probably on something like this. So yeah, rest assured, again, visibility, tick. Aside from that, boot space as well, absolutely enormous. I've got a Volvo V40 and it's got a decent sized boot. Obviously the Fiesta ST hasn't got such a big boot, but yeah, my Volvo D40, which I use as daily, has got a very decent sized boot. This has got a much more bigger boot. But yeah, like I say, it's getting just slightly darker now. And like I say, the interior comes into its own at night time, because it's got loads of lovely lighting, LCD displays that are really clear. The LED lighting system on this car is absolutely fantastic as well. So the night vision or vision that you get from this, and the visibility you get from this for nighttime driving, is absolutely superb as well. So again, that's another thing that you probably would want to ask, that a lot of people wouldn't tend to do. Brakes, very confidence inspiring. They haven't. One thing I would say is I sometimes like brakes. They are sharp, but some big brake systems I've had on other cars before are even more sharper. So these, I suppose, don't scare you as much, because they're not as they haven't got a crazy bite point on them, which some people would like. I probably wouldn't mind a little bit more of a higher or a sharper bite on the brakes. But they're 350mm discs and Brembo calipers, so they definitely will stop you when you need it. So the brakes are absolutely out of this world. Once you, like I say, get even a mild bit of heat in them, they get better and better as they get heat in them. But even from cold, they're still absolutely superb. Like I say, you have to stamp on them before you get loads and loads of before you get loads and loads of bite. But I think that's what Honda's done, again, to appeal to the masses, or to appeal to more people that would want it as a daily. Because if it has a really, really sharp feel, it does feel even more racer-like. That being said, I am told, or have heard, that the facelifted versions again have a different set of pads on them. I wouldn't be surprised if they've probably got more bite on them, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that feels. But yeah, rest assured, in the meantime, yeah, this car, I say, out of the factory, the braking system, you're not going to exploit or get to the limits of a 350mm brake setup. I really don't think so. Even on track, I can imagine this brake system is going to be out of this world, to be honest with you. So if you are into kind of modifying cars as a platform, this car is amazing, because you don't need a set of big brakes. I mean, like I say, 350mm discs with huge, I think 4-pot Brembo calipers as well. Yeah, it's going to stop you on track, road, whatever, any given situation. So yeah, as a modifier's daily platform, I guess it's phenomenal. Kind of other things I'm hearing about that not everyone would want to kind of know in a daily car, but it is massively modifiable. I always look at every car I consider as to how modifiable it is, because obviously I do like that. These standard motors are I've been told, can be modified up to 550 horsepower, completely factory standard on the internals of the block. So very, very good. Conrods and pistons good for 550 horsepower. I say, not that people that are daily in these and buying these with warranties and wanting to kind of keep the warranty would worry about, but yeah, really, really good to know. With mild kind of modifications done right, you can easily get somewhere close of around 400 horsepower. And with a meth kit or bioethanol, you can get these up to, I've heard, 500 horsepower on a stock turbo. So normally up to a point of around 400 horsepower, you need to start doing some serious mods, but it is doable. So yeah, a good modifiers platform. But yeah, like I say, in terms of comfort and drivability, this car is really, really smooth. Silky smooth gearbox, which is absolutely beautiful. Probably one of the best 6-speed gearboxes you'll find in any production car today. Rev matching on the downshift, beautiful, and even up through the gears as well. The car is silky smooth, and it's very, you find yourself having to be awfully awkward with the gear changes to make the car jerky. It's just smooth in the operation of how responsive the motor is and how silky smooth that gearbox is, as well as having really, really nicely matched gear ratios. But like I say, through the gears, it's so hard to be jerky. These roads are just beautiful. But it's so confidence inspiring with the traction control on, and like I say, I'm not going to drive silly. It's slick kind of conditions, and yeah, it's just nice to kind of get the car around these roads. Okay, so now we've had a bit more of a drive and we've kind of done everything, or ticked all the boxes, or kind of covered everything I suspect you guys will want to have covered. I'm going to end it there, but before I end it there, I am going to throw this out to you. If you've got any questions and any queries that you want to kind of put to us, now having driven this car a lot, please do, and please hit us up in the comment section below and let us know of your thoughts of the car, of any questions you've got about the car that we can answer, because we always try and answer every single one of your individual questions. Yeah, I hope it's covered all the bases. If it hasn't, like I said, drop your comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, like, share, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.